I'm Beth Payne. I'm the director of the Dudley Farm Museum here in North Guilford. And I'd like to welcome you to the Dudley Farm Museum. And our first stop along the tour is in front of this stately 1844 farmhouse that was built by Nathan C. Dudley in 1844. It was lived in continuously until 1991. All 17 rooms, and at one point there were 3 families that lived here. Next to and in back of the farmhouse is the work shed, which was also the area where laundry was done during the winter. So inside the work shed we have the cistern that collected rainwater for doing the laundry, as well as the equipment that was needed for wringing out the clothes. As you walk around the grounds, and we have 10.5 acres with 17 buildings, we're going to walk by the herb garden or the kitchen garden. And the kitchen garden was just full of medicinal and culinary herbs. And we have done our best to replicate some of the historic and heritage varieties of things like basil and other plants that would have been used at the time. Going up the hill, we arrive at the orchard. This is the apple orchard, and the Dudley Farm produced about 50 bushels of apples every year for their use. This too is in the process of being rehabbed with nothing but heritage apples, including one variety called the Dudley apple, which I think is certainly appropriate for the Dudley Farm. So we'll have a variety of apples up here. They're being replanted as we speak. This will be a return to how the Dudley Farm was at the time. We have a windmill that was probably the first windmill brought into this area. It's about 1890, and it was used to pump water from the river across the street, which is the West River or the West Branch River, and it was used primarily to feed the animals, but it was very innovative at the time. The Dudleys were known to be innovators. They did not, if something new came along that looked like it was going to make their work at the farm easier, they were there to do it. Walking along the edge of the pasture, we come to the Heritage Garden. This garden can be quite beautiful during the summer when we have a variety of plants growing, and it's often used as a backdrop for the weddings that we sometimes host here at the museum. It's very much like Amy Dudley's garden, and Amy lived here was born in 1878 and was quite a botanist, and so she had a nice touch with all the flowers in the background. Continuing towards the edge of the property that is open to the public, we arrive at the Chick Mansion. It's our brand new chicken coop, but it replaces the chicken coop that used to be here, and it too has heritage chickens in it. Those are Rhode Island Reds, and the other ones are Plymouth Rock. They are very active. They lay an egg a day most of the year. The people who care for our chickens have the luxury of also collecting the eggs and doing with them as they will. After we leave the chicken house, we walk towards the bunkhouse and the wagon shed, which is south of the chicken coop. The Dudleys hired men seasonally to help out on the farm, and that's where they would stay, in the bunkhouse. Also, what we have nearby is the blacksmith shop, and that is not the original blacksmith shop. It is one that we have replicated again here on the farm, so that we try on the Dudley Farm Museum grounds to have all the properties and all the buildings that were here at the time of the Dudleys that we feature, which is 1870 to 1910. The first Dudleys actually moved into the Dudley farm around 1720 or 1712. And as I said earlier, they lived here until 1991. Down the hill, as we head towards the community garden, we come to the sugar house. All small-time farmers, and large ones as well, made maple sugar during the sugaring season, which is generally from President's Day to St. Patrick's Day in this part of the woods. We replicated this, or rebuilt it actually, on the foundation of the original sugar house. And the Rotary Club was very instrumental in helping us get this done. We give sugaring demonstrations each early spring. It has the potential for making quite a bit of maple syrup. Sugar itself was extremely expensive, so being able to make their own sweetener by tapping the maple trees was really an advantage. The Munger barn, which is down here on the hill, is a yellow barn, and it replaces or is located in the site of the original barn that had been there previously. Martha Dudley was a Munger, and when the Munger Lumber Company closed back in the 1990s, they provided us with the barn, and we had an old-fashioned barn raising in 2002 to put this barn back together. And it's just lovely. It's a venue for a lot of weddings, showers, family gatherings, reunions, all of that such a sort of thing. We've recently reconstructed the ice house. There had been an ice house here on the farm. In fact, they used to flood the ice pond every fall so that it would freeze, so that you could get 12-inch thick ice slabs to make into ice blocks that were stored in the ice house. And those ice blocks would be packed in the ice house, and the ice house would be pushed or would have insulation of straw or sawdust, and that insulation was good enough so that you could get ice up until and sometimes past August from the ice house. Most ice houses are gone now, but there are still a few in the country, just not very active. Coming back up the hill, there's a small building, and it's a farm shed. It was used as a garage or a carriage house, and it was built in the early 20th century. It also had housed at one point one of the first cars in North Guilford, and it was a moon car, which I had to look up. I did not know anything about it. It was pretty esoteric and pretty unique at the time, but there were remains of the moon car at the house, or at the shed, when the Dudley farm first was established. People often wonder when they go through the house, where did they go to the bathroom? Especially kids. And when you tell them, well, you had to go to the outhouse, the look of horror on some of their faces. But we have a little outhouse, and it's a 3-holer. 2 holes, 2 pieces for adults, and then the little one for kids. The gemstone of the Dudley farm is the big barn complex. And this barn complex is very photogenic and has recently been restored to its glory. It was made from American chestnut, which of course you can't get now because of the blight that occurred shortly after this barn was built. But we've restored it to its glory, and a lot of the original features still are there, including a wonderful hayloft, stanchions from where the cows were kept, stalls where the horses were kept, and of course small areas for our sheep. And we do have sheep at the big barn complex. It is huge, and the original barn was built, probably around 1840, and then additional pieces were added on until you have this 3-part barn, which includes a wonderful granary, a tool shed, and the manger for the cows. It faces south. It has a traditional hayloft on the west side, a threshing floor on the east, and 2 animal stalls. Outside of the big barn is another small building, and that's the milk house. The milk house is a reconstruction, again, on the site where the original milk house was. Milk houses became popular in the early 20th century. Before that, all farm families had a cow or 2 for themselves, but then once they started making collectives and selling the milk houses became the place where the milk was stored until it was picked up. And so this milk house has a milk tank for the milk to be stored in the milk cans, and then cooperative would come and collect the milk once a day. Cows, by the way, were milked twice a day. So you had to get up and milk the cows at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you had to come back and milk them again 5 o'clock at night. I hope you've enjoyed this virtual tour of the Dudley Farm Museum grounds. We're located on the northeast corner of Routes 77 and 80 in North Guilford. Feel free to contact us if you are interested in having your special event at this special place. All of our programs and services can be found on our website, www.dudleyfarm.com, and you can see what's happening anytime by visiting our Facebook page. Of course, you are always welcome to visit us in person down on the farm and learn about the Dudley family and the home they lived in.